We're here to embody the light and the dark.
It's about ceasing the story of suffering, coming to sit in the darkness, which is very much medicine work. Everybody's core wound is self-worth and not being loved. We are born to thrive. This is what we're born to do.
We are much more powerful than what we think.
Yeah. The voice in our head is not necessarily here to help us. There's been times in my life where I didn't think I was gonna make it.
Everything does matter, but at the same time,
none of it matters. Imagine the whole world changing the story of suffering. It's the most incredible miracle that we're here. The last step to this healing work is having compassion for ourselves.
Yeah.
We can't quite do this work without each other.
I love that all of this can be applied to plant medicine while in ceremony, but also in everyday life. What a beautiful gift.
Truly.
Veronica,
hi.
Welcome. I'm so happy to have you on the show. What an honor.
Thank you so much for having me.
Yes.
I love your home and just seeing you in your element, and it's really an honor.
Thank you. It's great to have you here. Okay, so can you start by telling us a little bit about yourself?
Sure. So I'm in my 40s. I've got two beautiful children, 23 and 8. And I've been a practitioner of the healing arts. I've been doing acupuncture for almost 20 years now. I have my license in Hawaii and here. And also, I guess for about 20 years as well, I've been working with entheogens, plant medicines on this path. And they're all sort of these little elements that just infuse the rest of my life. Right. So, you know, I grew up in Hawaii and it was a very beautiful upbringing, and I was a bit of the minority there and learned to surf and was surfing every day and would really immerse in nature as a young child. Yeah. So came out here to California about 12 years ago now, and had my other baby, and now I'm just really dedicated on the path of continuing to integrate myself, healing, holding space, and ultimately in this relationship with creation, eventually, or working towards being more of service, you know, on this, of what is being needed in the moment. So I would say I'm like a student, always, you know, yoga, dance, music, but really ultimately of the present moment, you know, and the mystery that's within that, and the magic that's within that, and the possibilities and the potential. So that's sort of where my life is now. And I wouldn't say I've kind of always been there. The first part of life, or I guess the second part of life, is unlearning the first part. So that's the process I'm in. I'm still unlearning.
Aren't we all?
Yes.
That's why I wanted to have you on. I've known you for, I actually can't even remember when we first met.
Me neither.
It feels like it's been forever.
Yeah.
It's been a long time.
Yeah.
But I've always viewed you as a very grounded, well-rounded, wise woman. And I really respect you and all the work that you've done, especially with plant medicine. I'm like, you are a warrior when it comes to plant medicine. It definitely takes a certain kind of person with that commitment and devotion and dedication and showing up the way that you do. And I'm excited to just kind of dive in with you and ask you some questions and kind of tap into that wisdom of yours.
Yeah. And I feel like what you're saying with all of that and diving into that, you know, in my, you know, best days I am, you know, aligned, and the journey is full of setbacks and full of one step forward, two steps back. And I'm definitely the first to admit that. And actually a lot of the people that I work with, they've gone much further than me. You know, there's this dedication to the journey, but it is such a learning process, and, you know, to have compassion. And as far as the medicine world goes, it's not really for most people. Yeah. You know, and I think you're right, it does take a certain like spirit or a certain, it's almost like the adventure, the curiosity, or the ability to go head first, and face, those uncomforts.
Yeah.
So yeah, I appreciate that. And
I'm glad that you mentioned, I was just listening to a podcast before you came about the light and the dark, and about how we get so hard on ourselves for not being perfect or for thinking negative because of this new age way of thinking or believing that we have to be positive all the time and we have to speak really lightly and be like this happy light body all the time, when in reality that's not why we're here. We're here to embody the light and the dark, and to be the alchemist and to weave it all into one. For me, I can look at somebody else sometimes and compare myself and be like, God, they just are like so devoted on this path of doing the work and doing the medicine work and like so wise, and they must not like have these angers and outbursts and these like ups and downs,
but it's so true.
But that's not reality.
I know people will always be like, oh my gosh, you're so wise, and the first thing that pops in my head is I'm a wise ass. Like, like I appreciate it, and and you hit the nail. I mean, it is really the path of both, and I have a firm belief or maybe understanding that the perfection or the comparison is actually like the devil in disguise, and it is coming in very specifically to make us strive for something that we aren't, and because we will never actually potentially reach it except momentarily for people in the moment. It's one of the ways that the mind tricks us to bring us down and to keep us down. And that is a lot of what I'm trying to share with people, because there are so many navigational tools to work with that. And that's kind of what the, medicine path and everything's been showing me over the years.
Well, I am so glad that you're here, because personally, this is one of my biggest struggles. Like I am so devoted to this path too. And, very devoted to stepping into my best and highest self, living my best and highest life. And I am a Pisces, Scorpio rising, Taurus moon. I feel deeply. And you better believe that when I'm thrown off, I beat myself up so much, because I'm like, what the fuck? I'm doing the work. I've done all the trauma work, all the inner child work. I've done all of the healing and the plant medicine and the meditating every day. Like, I've done it all, and I'm still here when I get to the place of like anger and rage. And I feel like one of my biggest things that I struggle with is that and then for days I hold a place of shame and feeling so regretful and so like a bad person, because my partner Jedi is so chill and calm. He's sat in ceremonies and this and that, but he doesn't have that same, like, I want to do this work and, like, heal myself and do the No, he's just good. And I'm like, what the hell? What's happening?
Well, it's really actually shows me a lot when people can admit that. Because the admitting of the shame cycle and the anger and the reality of emotions that are real and happen to everybody, it shows that it's like the last step, to this healing work is having compassion for ourselves in the midst of it all and being okay with it. And that anger is such a powerful tool, because it is, at this point, I feel like really common knowledge for a lot of people waking up. It's those triggers are like these big flashing red lights, the anger, the grief, the sadness, the irritabilities. It's like the obsessiveness, the compulsiveness, the addictions. It's like, hey, this is where you're not integrated. And it all comes down to the same thing. I've worked with thousands upon thousands of people, And everybody's core wound is self-worth and not being loved. Everybody's. It's almost as if we've come onto this planet and we don't feel worthy to be here because it is so epic. And then you see it in the global world of this destruction. And I know there's all these beautiful things happening. It's such a dichotomy. It's such a paradox, the two sides of everything going on all the time. But we see this destruction and this like, I have to get back at, it's actually really deep, and I'll kind of go there for really briefly here, but there's this idea of we might not feel worthy at our deepest core, and we are. But this is the unlearning process. Our parents cannot conditionally give us love or unconditionally all the time.
Yeah.
So we create this, I'm not worthy of this love as a child, or I don't feel loved. And of course there's levels and some are way more extreme, but it all kind of comes down to this. When we start to see that distorted, like people can't get angry, people can't get sad, they can't show their emotions, they can't process it, then they start destroying the earth and destroying each other and this war. And it's almost like they're getting back at their mom. They're like, well, if I was never loved, so I'm going to destroy you. I'm going to rape you. I'm going to take that love, or whatever it is. It comes in many forms. And really this path is, especially with the entheogens, like eventually is towards joy.
Yeah.
And it's letting go of the suffering story. It's really changing the story. And that means comforting the demon of the anger, the irritability, and what is it here to show us? It's here to show us that we don't feel loved. So, is that really what's happening? Right. No, not necessarily, but it's generational, it's ancestral. It's like we learned it from our parents. They learned it from theirs. It's a part of humanity,
So how do we break that cycle? Individually and as a collective? It
took years before like a wind of grace came through and I thought, I'm going to change the story. I am, addicted to this dramatic story. Is there a way for me to first just sit with it? Why am I addicted to this story? Why do I like drama in my life? And there is a tracking system utilizing our present moment of like a snapshot of our life right now. All of these things are going right, but this one thing is pissing me off. Yeah. This one little irritability, who does that remind me of? Where's the rhyme and the reason? This is a game of patterns. This is a like resonance through the ages. What is throwing it off? Bing, bing, bing. That's where I'm not integrated. What does it remind me of? We can almost always track it back to something similar or the opposite of, because it's a game of opposites. Like it's a paradoxical universe.
Can you give me an example of that, of the opposite?
Yeah, so the world is full of holy paradoxes. Like for instance, right now, war, destruction, families being ripped apart, and then we have these inner workings and these moments of magic and coincidence and so much destruction and so much beauty, all at once. Or like, for instance, the monk or the spiritual teacher that is up hermiting in the mountain, in the cave, in the Himalayas. And one thing one of my teachers would always say is, why is that person up there? They need to come down and make love to a woman. Like they are actually potentially, and everyone's different, up there because they're so scared of connecting. Obviously not all the people in a mountain meditating, but there's that one that they're up there actually to just avoid, when really their medicine is to come together. Another really good example is with some of these entheogens, people coming out of ceremony and having these grandiose visions. And it's almost as if the medicines are illuminating their egos. And they have they'll come out, oh, I'm supposed to serve medicine or something. And okay, and in that game of opposites, when we're learning to navigate, because the medicine, when it speaks to us, it's so illuminating, and it brings us serotonin, and it kind of aligns us to spirit, but it's illuminating everything that's already there. And in this game of opposites, we're like learning to navigate it, but the medicine is speaking in Japanese. So we don't have like a playbook, of how to decipher it or navigate it while we're in it. It's like this master psychologist, So people will have these like incredible visions, or they'll think they need to be with someone, or, whatever it is. And the medicine or the healing, often in my case, will lie very much in the opposite of that. And it's this, for me, it's been over time, this sort of surrender or this understanding that the medicine is actually speaking very quietly. And it's an extremely soft, like listening skill and hearing sort of in between the notes. And there is like the answer lies there, but we almost always just skip right over it because it's illuminating the egoic desires, but underneath the desires, there's a reason why we have these grandiose visions. And of course, there's exceptions to all of this. Nothing's a real specific way. But we have these, illuminating grandiose visions because we've created our whole life reacting to this wound of not being loved or being loved. And we've like created our life and moved in certain ways and talked to certain people and did certain actions, but oftentimes it's just within that, what if it was the complete opposite? What would it show me? And there's just a curiosity of, maybe I'll look into that and see there might be something there, where I have found a lot of the potential of what eventually is real for me for integrating and transforming that story. So maybe someone who's very career, orientated, and they're just like, they're so passionate and focused, but it's this hyper independence because they grew up with not feeling like they can lean on someone, or being taught that, leaning on someone means rejection, or they don't feel safe. So this was part of my story of, I got to get really good and really successful. And I did, and in reality, like codependence is actually really healthy for me. Like that's a piece of my medicine, and being able to ask for help and being able to like surrender into that. So maybe in those visions, I'd be like, oh, my career, my this, I'm going to do this. And I'm like, wait, what's the opposite of that? Oh, being a little more taken care of, being able to rest, not thinking I have to do it all, being a little more in this surrendering, receptive mode.
So how do we know when it's truth or it's highlighting our ego and we actually need to be paying attention to the opposite? Because I've actually never thought about it or heard anyone talk about the medicine in that way. For example, I found out I was pregnant with Zia in ceremony. It was too early to test, and the very first night in ceremony, the medicine said, "You're pregnant." I got a vision of Zia in a bubble of light in my belly. And I had all 3 nights, she was in a bubble of light.
Wow.
And, it was the most powerful, transformative, intense, scary, horrifying, beautiful, amazing weekend that I've ever had. And it was like complete ego death, dying over and over again. One night I sat the entire night in pure agony, thinking about my oldest daughter, Maya, of all the times that I yelled at her, made her feel ashamed, made her feel bad. The whole night of just me sitting in my shit, looking at myself. And it was just pure agony.
Yeah.
Prior to this, I had pain in my arm for a month. Maya left her dad's house. Ever since she left, I had this pain. And after that night of sitting and reflecting, because at that point, my daughter and I had been really like butting heads. And I kept being like, it's what she's doing. And the medicine was like, girlfriend, you gotta sit and it was like
illuminate.
It was the hardest night. Then the next night I was able to sit and process it, and the pain in my arm completely went away.
Miracles.
Completely went away. And it was like, you know, that pain was of what was happening with you and your daughter. And then I realized, the medicine told me, you had to clear this. You and Maya, whatever was going on is now cleared. Yeah. It is cleared. Energetically, it's cleared. You're going to talk to her tomorrow, and you guys are going to be on a completely different tip. And you had to clear this because you're about to bring a new child in. And this cannot be like this. When you're going to tell her you're pregnant, you guys got to be totally stable and good. The foundation with you guys has to be solid. Yeah. And literally, talked to her the next day, everything changed. Everything, the conversation immediately changed ever since then. Like the whole butting head's done. Like we are so good, tight. And it really was like the energy clearing, the self-awareness, the serious reflection that I needed to have within myself as a mother. To bring in this next child. But then, you know, there's times where it's like, it's like totally ego boosting where I'm like, holy shit, I'm the dopest person alive, you know? But also, I'm like, I think that's also really good to feel that way about yourself too. If we all feel that way, then we're gonna have a thriving planet, right?
Yeah, 100%.
So what would you say? How do you?
Yeah. It's really beautiful to hear that story. I love hearing, you know, people's, I mean, it's really miracles. Yeah. I mean, I'm constantly in awe of the deeper transformations that happen that affect family units, particularly. And I think that entheogens are real specific in my world for relationally. You know, they really show me that because we can't quite do this work without each other. Right. There are so many blind spots, and there is a level where we are reflecting back to one another the defects, the trauma, the deficiencies, and you know, the discerning process is just one of practice. Entheogens have a way of purging us. You know, some people are like, oh my God, I had a million thoughts last night. I'm like, that's good. You were purging. Instead of throwing up, you were purging a million thoughts. And now it's clear and you're more apt or able to rest, you know, the lotus blossom in the heart. You know, and to bring it down and to have it more embodied in your body, have these deep healings happening somatically through the body. So, you know, it's first and foremost, be curious. Be curious. Be curious. Yeah. If this was true, what would this mean? Right. And if there's something within this hidden message, what could that possibly be? At least pointing me in the direction of. Because I often think when I'm seeing my defects, which is a very powerful tool that the master psychologist sort of has, within that process, you know, is so much medicine, just observing, you know, and even people will say things, you know, patients and clients, and we often go this route, like really deep into the patterns, and they'll say things that are just clearly, you know, maybe an egoic proof, or I'm going to defend this thing until I die. And, you know, in that moment, you know, I could, you know, say, are you open, you know, to hearing what what might be behind it, you know? And a lot of people aren't. Yeah. You know, and they want to live their life in that comfort. Yeah. But really, it's that comfort that's holding them back. Right. And that's bringing up the anxiety and bringing up the things that aren't healed that come out as these irritations because we're not able to face it one-on-one and kind of like hug it, or, you know, what does that demon want, you know, or what does that negative thought pattern want? And to be able to witness it and see it, that's not me, you know. And this is where kind of having guards, you know, at the gates of the mind becomes so important. It's almost just like an idea that us as a human being is witnessing this story, and I'm going to decide who comes in and who doesn't. They're there. The army is there. This is in essence a war. You know, they are trying to get in. You know, what guards are at the gate saying, you know, I'm going to laugh at you. I'm going to find the opposite of this negative thought, because remember, the negativity is then validating our unworthiness.
So I'm going to pause you.
Yes.
What are the guards at the gates? What do you mean by that?
Yeah, so I feel like I actually have a really strong, I believe that the mind has this, you know, desire to almost bring us down, and I don't quite understand it, except as our ability, like we're all getting squeezed right now.
Yeah.
You know, there's been times in my life where I didn't think I was going to make it, but those of us that are able to kind of be squeezed, where it's like the diamond. You know, it's this refinement. So we are on one level saying, no, I don't want that drama. You're not welcome here. I'm putting a lock on my door at the house. I'm not going to tell certain people certain things.
Yeah.
I am not going to engage in that. It's a very firm, like, you know, I'm going to purify this space. You know, for instance, in my office, one teaching I received, you know, medicinally, was have a white candle. When there's a space in the moment that grace opens up and there's a moment to heal, where is that going to go? You know, is it just going to transform, or does it need to go into the light? And remember, we all hold light, especially as we get more and more tuned in and refined. And one of the other teachings I received was salt water. Have a bowl of salt water so that it has a place also to go. You know, and at the end of the day, I wash with salt water. So there's this idea of protection, you know, which has to do with your worth. I'm worthy of being protected. And
creating real boundaries for yourself.
Boundaries, all of that. And on the other side of that protection and guards, and is reaching for the higher thought and praying to the elevated ancestors and looking at the opposite, and feeding and nourishing and giving water and to the things we love and the things we want more of in our life and the people we want more of in our life. And I think of that with like songs, you know, when I learn a song or hear a song, it's like there's something there. It's like, is this a new friend? Is this is like, I really want to get to know this person and study it and understand and be able to sing it without having to look at the words. And like, there's like, I want to, whatever this is bringing me joy, I want more of this. I want more. So it's like feeding it, like offering it, being dedicated, devotional, surrendering. And that's like the discernment in the moment. Is something trying to bring me down or something trying to lift me up? What do I want? What do I want to surrender to? And remember, when I woke up to this in my own life, like 15 years ago, it was actually like 17 years ago, I took years and surrendered into the suffering story. I wanted to understand. I went dark and deep. And just said, you know what? Something feels good about it. It just goes back to this feeling of, you know, maybe, am I worthy now to, like, I'm here? It's the most incredible miracle that we're here talking. And, you know, so it's like this phenomenon, but it's like, it's part of it. We gotta come to terms with all of that and integrate it to really know our worth, you know, and I'm not fully there, you know, but, a lot more moments than it used to be, you know?
Yeah. It is definitely a paradox because with all of the teachings, with everything that, you know, I've learned over the past however long that I've been doing the work or really passionate about spirituality and consciousness and yada, 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 it's like this back and forth pull between follow the joy, follow the spark, follow the love. Like in each and every moment, what feels a little bit better, even if it's two, you know, things that you're not super stoked about, which one feels a little bit better, that is your inner guidance system. That is your path. And the more that we align every morning with the higher frequencies in our highest self, we pray, we connect with our angels, our guides, all the things, more likely you're going to have a better day and things are going to flow and you're going to be more open and receptive to your highest path for that day.
Absolutely.
Sometimes, no matter what you do, you are in a dark place. And no matter what, you can't get out internally. And the suffering is there, no matter how much you want to escape, no matter how much work you do, and no matter how much you meditate and do the somatic work and do the inner this and that and the EMDR, you're fucking there.
Yeah, and it's so true, and it's so good for everybody to really understand that regardless, you know, it's going to come up. Yeah, so regardless, like people are going to be there, and it's really, you know, when we think we're not supposed to, that's when the shame loops us even further. So understand, like the Rumi poem, like it's a gift, it's a guest, it's coming through, you know, and I like to be curious about why am I here? Like what, is there some, and this is where I kind of woke up to, I'm a little addicted to suffering. Everybody's a little addicted to suffering subconsciously. Why? What feels good about this? And when we're in that deep, dark place, there's an element of, there's something here I like that feels good. And this is why so many people, there's like so many poems, and I think it's a Hafiz poem with the grief is the same as joy.
Right.
Because when you're in that darkness of complete letting go and having nothing and all this space, there's a sweetness of surrender, you know, and it is like precious, sweet understanding that a lot of people, in some ways, I don't actually wish it on anybody, you know, but for those who have had to go through that portal, they're going to hug you differently. You know, they're going to show up and, you know, like when people come up and they like give me a one-arm hug, I'm like, wow, you have no idea that this could be the very last time we ever see each other. Like that's how fragile and precious and fleeting this life is. And I'm really, you know, I have to like control myself and like, you know, understand where everybody's at. But I'm like, you know, I want that full embrace. I want that breath. I want like, what if this is it?
Yeah.
You know, this moment is all we have, you know, it's really beautiful.
So do you think that it's just part of the human experience, and in order for us to grow, we have to experience the dark? Or do you think we're meant to get to the place where we enter into such a frequency that we don't have to continue to experience the dark to like have the expansion?
It's a really great question. And I think there's a million ways to connect to creation and ultimately to our own liberation, an infinite
Nothing's
amount
black
of ways.
and white. There's infinite
amount of ways
of everything.
Probably some are faster. Even with the medicine, that's shortcuts. You know, like in the yogic realm, you know, they say Kundalini is the shortcut. You know, Ashtanga is the long version. You know, pick your adventure. You know, for myself, coming to sit in the darkness, which is very much medicine work, and learning how to sing to it has been the journey for me. And you know, my daughter's so afraid of the dark and so afraid to be by herself. We're in this big process right now of learning how to self-soothe and everything. And you know, I lost my brother, you know, 15 years ago now.
Sorry.
Yeah, and it was such a tragic, you know, loss at that time. And I guess my son was probably about 8 at that point. And I don't even remember, you know, there were years. I'm like, how did I take care of him? You know, how did I function? How did I feed myself? How did I feed him? Like, I was so deep in the darkness, and because I was so blasted open and in the ocean of grief.
Wow.
And the ocean of grief isn't necessarily healthy. I had to really step back from entheogens because I just couldn't get out of the ocean, and I was drowning.
Oh, wow.
You know, and I was feeling so much. I'm a double Pisces.
Yeah.
You know, myself, and there's this aspect of Piscean disassociation of, wow, if I didn't have kids, would I be in a ditch?
Yeah.
Disassociated.
Right.
Like, I feel that. I know that. It's like, it's tempting, you know? Thank God, you know, life has given me these things to come out the other end. People need a rope, you know, but only you can pull yourself out.
Yeah.
You know, and we really do need each other, because when you really do dive into it, it's the fear of being separated and the longing to be reconnected, and to our mothers and to God and to creation. And I love the Portuguese word for this. It's saudade, which means like yearning and longing, but it means so much more than just the English word. It's like this, I've been separated, and like, you know, and there is this element of the dichotomy, of the paradox of reuniting, walking each other home, you know, and this all, I believe, is the teachings in the present moment. So if you don't mind, I'd love to just share this really brief thing with the present moment. And I read it, I think it was A New Earth by Eckhart Tolle.
It's a good book. A
good book. Wow. Such great teachers out there these days. So many awake people.
It's incredible.
That's the, you know, that's the paradox right there. So it's like, in a dysfunctional way, we have these 3 ways of relating with the present moment. And the first one is a means to an end. I'm doing this to get to that. I am reading my child a bedtime story so I can check my emails. And your life becomes a series of tasks.
Right.
And you're never truly living. The second one is life is an obstacle. I have to get over this. And life becomes, it's like sitting in traffic. I just got to get through this. It's an obstacle for me actually living. And life just becomes a struggle. It's just, we're struggling. And people do this all the time, you know? And then the third way is life is your enemy. And you are in a fight with everything coming to us. You know, and these are really like dysfunctional ways of being in the moment, but you'd be surprised at how, you know, so many people are living this all the time.
On autopilot, not even aware.
Autopilot. So I just wanted to share it because it's really to get like that drop of understanding, to just see it, not even do anything about it, but just to see it is everything. To become aware.
Become aware.
Yeah. Wow. It's like I'm addicted to suffering or addicted to not living, you know? What if the opposite, you know, were possible? What would this moment be like? You know?
I love that. And that just right there brings you back to the present moment of the now.
Yeah.
It stops you from spiraling into the story and or your ego or whatever, and brings you back into the full self-awareness, kind of like an observer of like, oh, okay.
Yeah.
And what if?
What if?
That's great. I love that.
Yeah.
Yeah, I love that all of this can be applied to plant medicine while in ceremony, but also in everyday life, because life is a ceremony, right?
Yeah.
I've heard people mention that grief can be a form of an initiation.
Yeah, so it's just that in itself is the singing to the darkness. It is this, I've lost something so deeply, you know, and even when my father died and grandma, it like just didn't affect me the way it did with my brother. Yeah. You know, and because we were so close and it was so tragic, and you know, there's this like, it's so unexpected, and you know, there's this, it's this loss, but it hurts so much, and it is also this, you know, form of suffering where it just hurts, and it's because we loved so much, and that's the reflection. So it's a beautiful initiation. People are always like, oh, why don't you do grief work? First of all, I'm doing so much and working with people. It's not something, it's I can talk about it now, but I really couldn't. I really couldn't. It affected me so much that coming out of it was like, once I was on the other side, you know, the preciousness of life and the fragility of life became, okay, now I'm going to give someone a real hug. Now I'm going to have a little more intention with my day, a little more, you know, focus. And
what a beautiful gift.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
What a beautiful gift.
Truly.
Tell us a little bit about the reflective mind.
Yeah, so the reflective mind, my son introduced me to it from Angelo, or DeLulla, is the book Awake. And my son has sort of been that type of teacher for me, that I get to a certain level with awareness, or, you know, being able to track things or meditate in a certain way, and then he sort of introduces me to something else, you know, and he's really beyond, like I, you know, our children are always like our greatest teachers, whether they're teaching our patients or how to set boundaries or love. And remember, it's impossible to unconditionally love them at all times, and we really see our patterns very specifically come out in our children. Oh, yeah. Yeah. So once I started doing this work, I was like, oh my gosh, I already passed that on, you know, and it's just but dedicating to the work every little bit and paying attention and having that desire, dedication for transformation and growth, they receive a lot from it. So, you know, with my son, this book talks about the reflective nature, and it's like a hall of mirrors. So you have this really reflective state with each thought. And the Buddhists talk about the negative cycle of the thoughts because we were cave people and we were in fight or flight and we absolutely had to survive. So we were trained for so long to think of the worst case scenario because we had to survive. And remember, as children, if we aren't loved and if we aren't accepted, we might be left at the dumpster. So we have to create these ways of being people-pleasing, or, I mean, the span is unreal, but it's our own unique set of reactions in order to receive some kind of attention, whether negative or positive, from our parents. So now we're older and we don't need that, but our mind has this way of having a thought, and then the next thought is similar. but it's almost like a reflection or a slight distortion but you can see the connection. There's like, I can see how why this thought is next. And it goes on and on and on and on. And in general, unless we are very vigilant and have spent years meditating or getting the muscle memory to have the higher thought, or to not listen to the thoughts, or in the Know Thyself podcast, they're saying make the words a musical. It's so funny just how you can deal all the different ways with this voice that people think is their own. Oh my God, I'm spiraling. It's not you. This ego is here spiraling and bringing you down. But if you don't have that attachment to it, connection, or if you can actually utilize it to see the opposite, So this is where like everybody, it's an inner tracking system to navigate, to find your North Star, and it will help you. Because remember, it's trying to, in some ways, and I don't really understand the mystery behind this, except that in a reflective universe, in order to grow and expand and experience itself, there is this necessity to go through the struggle, to go through the suffering, so this ego, it's almost validating, almost always validating this unworthiness in some way, shape, or form, if you really examine it deep enough. Or it's like being loved or not being loved, and then our decisions are based on our reactions around this. And I know there's exceptions and people have moved beyond this, and there's lots of people out there. But in general, you look at the news, you look at the story going around, and this is the narrative. It is like there to bring your thinking, your heart, to a place of suffering and dealing with all the atrocities going on. And then the news hyper focuses on it and then brings it back to us. So when there's miracles all around, so by being able to like track and understand, instead of just sitting and meditating and watching the thoughts come, watching them go, which is a phenomenal meditation, just being with it all, because they're going to be there. It's not like they're going anywhere. We're just slowly introducing a new narrative by examining the one that's already there. So like examination, or putting a microscope on these patterns of the universe, patterns of our mind, patterns of our action, then we are able to, I almost feel it's 99% of it. I believe the transformation, it's like the grace of God. It's like the willingness to reach for the higher self because you're sick of it. That's all a piece of it. And the patterning is so profound because we see the patterns. And working with so many people over so many years, the pattern looks like you might not be able to recognize it. This doesn't have to do with this. And I'm like, hold on. They're literally the same thing. It's just in a different story, a different timeline of your life, a different spoke of the wheel. It might be in a relationship instead of your work, but underlying both of these stories is the same wound, is the same deficiency, is the same defect. It's coming out distorted in a different way. So it's just getting to know ourselves. What's ours, what's not, discerning, So it's like that idea of in this opposites and reflective nature. And I think it was Bashar, I'm not and he's talking about like, I don't feel confident, But that person's so confident. But that person's so confident in saying they're not confident.
Yeah, he did say that.
Or what we accept transforms. And what we resist persists. So when we're avoiding something, or I'm not going to talk to that person, it's like it actually ends up ruling our life. And it has so much more power, even though that person thinks that they're setting their boundaries and healing their thing. They're actually 10,000 times making it worse, potentially. Everything has its exceptions. So it's just a really beautiful way, like don't trust your thoughts, but actually utilize them to uncover what the ego is really trying to express. And, if the ego is like, you're so judgmental, just think, well, the ego is literally being so judgmental saying that to me. Is that what I am?
So this is reminding me of EMDR a little bit. I did EMDR for years.
Yeah.
And the process would be, she would put 2 vibrating balls in my hands, headphones that beep each ear, and go bzz, beep, bzz, boop. And so we would pick a subject that I had a lot of anxiety around. And we would go to the root of it.
Yeah.
When did I first experience this feeling? We'd go back to when I was a kid, middle school, elementary school, before that, preschool, whatever. And we would start off closing my eyes and going to that place. And the buzzing and the beeping would start, and she would say, drop into that feeling state of what it felt like to be in that experience. Fully, like, what does it feel in your chest? What are you feeling? Is your throat tightening? Is your, your chest tightening? What's happening? Explain the sensations to her out loud. And then she'd say, now just let go.
Yeah.
Beep, bzz, beep. And it was a pattern.
Yeah.
From there, I would jump to, from when I was 3, I would jump to middle school, then I would jump to high school, then I would kind of jump backwards in a timeline, then I would jump all the way up to here, and it was just like beep, beep, dot, 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 dot. And from this one incident from when I was 3, it literally created an entire pathway that incident attracted for the rest of my life, and sometimes backwards, since, time is parallel. And then I would get to the end of it, and it would no longer be, I would process it, sit with it, and it would no longer be triggering. I would start off, what's the trigger sensation? How much anxiety do you feel? 10. By the end, 1.
Wow.
And I would fully clear the pathway in my brain.
Yeah.
So is that similar to what you're talking about?
Absolutely. So the younger, the better.
Yeah.
Figuring out where the pattern came from, and it's this idea of, at that moment when the wound happened, the separation, it is a life or death situation of being accepted and loved and feeling that we're not worthy and we aren't loved. And it all comes down to that often, that having that awareness and actually resettle. I don't know the neuroscience behind the beeps and all that, and I have done some of it, and it works. It's the same idea though. So in our present day situation, when you're writing that at the end of the day, all the things that went wrong, and all your triggers and the worry journal, and you're just letting the energy move, and the somatic experience of letting a little steam out of the tea kettle. When you're doing that trigger, that person, that word that was said, if you can then make the connection in the present moment of what you're projecting onto them. Okay. Oh, this is actually my big sister who wouldn't let me come with her.
So how do we know? Because there's so many things that we are it could be 20 people in the past that have triggered the same emotion.
Yeah.
So can you give us an example?
Sure.
Say if you're in the moment and you are feeling really upset.
Yeah.
You're hurt, you're triggered.
Yeah.
Give step by step an example of what you would do to move through it.
Yeah, for sure. So I'll get really vulnerable, because what's coming up for me, and it's not too strong of a thing, because it's, once you get really comfortable with the pattern, it's just not as personal. But my sister's getting married, and she has not invited me to the wedding. It's like a kind of elopement, and she's having a few friends that have helped shape their relationship, but my brother's going. And so I kind of understand, I understand where that's come from, and she and I share the same wound. So this is why I actually really have a lot of compassion for it, because I know it's much bigger than just, my wound here. With the abandonment with my father, and him not feeling worthy enough to be received and accepted and taken in, by him. And of course, there's another woman involved and, everything. So when I come back to, okay, this is triggering me, and I want to come to a place of acceptance with it, first I have to make the map. I have to make that roadmap, and I have to understand that every situation that has come up with this story, my goal these days is transforming the story. A new story, being loved, accepted, brought in. In fact, codependence is actually healthy for me. This is my special, intimate medicine because of my wound, where someone else is completely the opposite. So I track it. I find my way back to my father. And when I really originally felt that, like this is it. And I can even get to the point where I remember feeling okay about it. And this goes further back, because when you say, oh, it's manifested in all these different ways. Yeah, but not really. It's this one that has then reoccurred, distorted a million times. Reflected, thank you. Oh, wow. Yeah, reflected and slightly distorted, so in different areas of our life and different situations. But it's this one initial moment of that, like the yearning to be accepted and loved, to when we're separated, when we're birthed with pain. There's pain when we're birthed and separated, and then we're just trying to get back the whole time. So you see that you figure out exactly that, and then for myself, I do write. And I will then project my feelings that I'm having. I haven't even met her husband yet or her fiance yet. My brother's invited. This is like a direct, all the things, and I'll write them out, and then I'll see myself getting sad instead of mad in this situation, and where I could easily direct it to her or him, and I right then and there, the awareness is there. This has nothing to do with them. This is my father. This is the wound that's happening. And then I go and I start writing to my dad, and I get mad and I get angry. And I had, like that one situation where I was so upset. I let myself not be the perfect kid anymore, accept something or walk on eggshells and go around everything. And I let myself get angry, pissed, hit pillows. I love to scream under the river. It's a big one, just to move things, exercise, sweating, lymphatics, all of that. And, and you go there to the original cause. And that in itself often does the trick. Mm-hmm. But the more we think it's in the present moment and it's dealing with this person, we are giving power to that person for disrupting us, when actually it's a deficiency from when we didn't know any better. And we're not children anymore. We can actually deal with it now.
And we're missing the opportunity to heal if we don't recognize that it's not them, that it's us. Then we're going to continue to manifest it, or continue to bring it out of other.
This is how you know it's still prevalent and we haven't fully healed it. It is still coming up. Mm-hmm. And people all day long will deny that it's coming up, and it's almost like the AA or NA admitting it. Actually, I'm sick. Yeah. I have all these people in my life taking my energy. I'm not holding strong boundaries, or I'm a bitch, or I'm a hyper independent. Seeing it for what it is the moment where we're like, maybe I want something different. And that's the path of healing. Huge. And being okay with the fact that we've gotten so off course, and unlearning the first part of our life, and having a lot of compassion for ourselves. Because when people really wake up to how sick they are and addicted to suffering, it's sad. It's a slow process. It's humbling. It's in this day and age, it's a harsh truth, but admitting it and seeing it is truly the first step, to wanting maybe better friendships, or being able to go deep, or just seeing our deficiencies, and how do I then tend to myself, fill up my cup, you know. I mean, and for instance, just on a different side of the spectrum, so with one of my other sisters, I would constantly reach out because I wanted the validation from her. I wanted to feel accepted and loved from her. You know, same story, wouldn't get it, you know, and you know, and with my brother, I've really healed, and my brother's still here today. I'm like, wow, I've really started to heal that masculine line. But with, you know, I would need the validation, need this. And actually my medicine with that was to cut communication.
And to give the validation to from that from within.
100%. And the only way I could even start to think about that was to stop outpouring it, outsourcing it. Yeah, so it's a journey, of awareness. Yeah.
It sure is.
Yeah.
So with all this being said, the journey of life, how do we keep it light and not take it so serious?
Yeah, and I think that this is the most important thing, because when I do my worry journal, my hate journal, this is a small piece of the day. This is like, I go about my day, I let the reactions come, I see what happens. I'm going to reflect for 10 minutes at the end of the night. And so there's like a time and a place, kind of like the 5-to-1 rule, you know, of you're in a relationship, you have, maybe you're processing all the time, you know, some people more than others. And because I end up working with a lot of couples too, not just with health, but with this kind of stuff. Give yourself 5 experiences together where you're not processing, you're not giving each other a hard time, you're actually just trying to have fun and be in the moment with them. And even if something comes up, I can't believe you freaking did that. Like, I got to tell them right now. Have you had 5 good experiences to live and to grow and to have fun? If not, then you wait. Then the thing is, probably in 2 more experiences, it's going to come up again. And the underlying thing is going to be the same thing, because we learn the most in relationships of love. Right.
Biggest teachers, biggest reflections.
Yeah.
Biggest mirrors.
Yeah, and being Pisces, we're obsessed with love. We're deep in love. We're just, you know, surrender consistently. It can be a fault, you know, for sure. Because we want to go deep. We want to swim in the ocean of love, not just grief, you know.
Love and romance all the time.
Oh my gosh, yeah, it's incredible. But and what an incredible life that's given us, you know. And you know, I think even if I never loved again, I've lived a full life of loving, you know. And yet, no, there's even more to come.
Always infinite.
Oh, it's incredible. So, like the Huni Queen and the Yawanawa, her tribes, you know, in the Amazon over there by Acre, their whole thing is, you know, so alegre. You hear them in the ceremonies. They're not my big tradition I go with, but I absolutely adore their music and their teachings, and really feel like they're going to be pillars for this new world that we're coming into. Only joy. So it's about ceasing the story of suffering and almost like following our bliss. And it's not this bypass, because you can't bypass with medicine work. You're forced to sit in the dark. You are forced to get squeezed. But on the other side of that admitting of that, being able to see the reflection of yourself and start to love yourself instead of the cycle of shame, that joy is, I mean, imagine the whole world, you know, changing the story of suffering. You know, we literally live on a planet spinning around the sun in this huge, massive galaxy and multiverse with water, air, fruit on the trees, mountains, beauty. Like, sure, the dichotomy, there's hell on earth in lots of places right now, but the beauty and the incredible, it's so much more, you know. And you know, just coming here, there was something in the background about something crazy happening in the world. And then all of a sudden I see this baby doe. I mean, just little.
So many of them around here.
Brand new,
so
like
cute.
this symbol of, innocence and everything with its mom. And it kind of like stops, and I'm like, okay, slow down for the innocence, slow down for the preciousness. This is a big teaching moment right now because I can drive fast. And, okay, what's happening right now? And like, there's something coming here. There's something here to learn or to receive or to hold. And I let them cross. And then they go into this, there's this neighbor you have with all these angels in the yard, like a million. And it just kind of goes there and stops and is looking at me. And I'm like,
oh, wow.
There's just, so much joy if we have the ability to take the moment and maybe look at where we're dysfunctionally in the moment, and then what is on the other side of that? What is there? The present moment, especially in the teachings through these entheogens, is pretty much one of the biggest teachings there is. And when the kind of veil opens and you start to see, hear, my son always says, what do I hear? What do I feel? And what do I see? And it's like just tapping into one of those senses. And the moment you tap into it, it starts to expand deeply. And that moment that might have just been passing is all of a sudden infinite and everything. And there's nothing more. It's the beginning, it's the end, it's the alpha, it's the omega. Every single teaching is within that moment. And then within that joy is the dichotomy of the cosmic joke and the humor of the hilarity of us being here, with all of this going on and worrying about our taxes. And it's like so funny that we're living in this world of opposites and reflection. So, when I first get introduced to a spiritual teacher or something, it's like if they're not cracking jokes, I just don't really, I'm like, do they get it? Do they totally get it?
I totally agree. I'm right there with you. Humor is everything.
Everything. Oh my gosh.
So there's two things that I want to talk about. Going back to the 5 to 1.
Yes.
That is so huge.
Yeah.
Applying that to everything.
Yeah, everything.
Literally, like relationship, huge.
Yeah.
Friendships, huge. But with yourself.
Yeah, exactly.
Using that with yourself.
Exactly.
Okay, 5 to 1. Like, how much am I like applauding myself?
Yes.
And appreciating myself and acknowledging like the little things with myself, within myself, and what I'm achieving. Like that's huge, right?
Huge.
And I think so. That's a great tool to be used.
Yeah.
In every day, right?
And I can give you there's so many examples, but when we're really utilizing the microscope and watching the patterns, because most people when they start, it's like 2 to 1, and and that's just not the mathematical equation for a thriving relationship. And we're born to thrive. It's the seed blossoms, that this is what we're born to do in our path. So you can take it with anything. Like so many people come in, I specialize in gut and hormone stuff and with medicine, and they're like, oh, they have leaky gut or IBS, like 90% of people. And, I try to explain to them, either you're taking something in that is really wreaking havoc on you and it's messing with you immensely. We need to take a moment and collect data and figure out what it is, because you haven't seen the pattern. Right. You've eaten this every time and you get bloated, but you don't even know you are because you're not looking for it.
Right.
So let's take a moment, whether food sensitivity tests or blood sugar, and observe. And then you're like, oh my God, it's milk, it's soy, it's wheat, whatever it is. Okay, so maybe they're like, okay, I'm taking it out. And I'm like, well, hold on. You've lived your whole life doing this. And the goal here is to be completely sustainable, healthy, able to thrive in your relationship with food. So let's start by taking it out 1 out of every 5 times.
Oh.
Then let's take it out 2, and then 3, until we get to the place where 5 times you aren't eating it every time you want to. And then you allow yourself 1. And at that point, it's taken you so long to get there, you're going to see how much better you're doing. So this is like the idea of the intelligent austerity.
Love this.
Yeah, how do I slowly and gently approach this, because I want it to last and I want it to sustain itself. And if you go straight off and cold turkey it, chances are you're going to fail. And when you fail, the game of shame and suffering, and I can almost say you did that in order to suffer, because subconsciously you want to. So if you really think you don't want to, let's do it a little more gently, a little more compassionate to ourselves, give a little bit of room to F up, you know? So that's one way. Self-talk is another, with our children is another, every single thing, but the key is observation and examination of the pattern.
I love it.
Yeah.
I love that. Okay, so the next thing I wanted to bring up, I sent you a podcast episode, and I believe, don't hold me to this if I'm saying his name wrong, but Donald Hoffman, he's a scientist, and I believe a psychologist, if I'm correct. He's amazing. Super next level scientist. And he's been able to prove at this point that this life is a VR.
Yeah.
Like we all essentially have our own headset on, VR game, and that this space and time is not real. So, you know, he just really goes in deep, and when any scientist wants to try to battle him or, you know, fight him on this, they can't. They know this at this point, that he is like, that this is what's real. They now have it proven. So when you really start to think about that, it's like, okay, like this is so meaningful, but also how hilarious.
So funny.
How hilarious is that? Like, what a trip. And then it's like, what is really real is when you enter into this place of nothingness, when we disconnect from this avatar, when we let go of all form of attachment that creates suffering, when we enter into the place of nothing, because that's who we all are outside of this avatar, this one consciousness that is all, we are all that consciousness. When we shut off the mind, we enter into meditative state, we all connect back to the same right energetic field. That is, and that is the real massive life outside of this, outside of the avatar, outside of the VR game. So that just really creates a whole new perspective and outlook on everything of like, why am I tripping?
Why am I
tripping? At the same time, it's like, you know, yes, life is meaningful. Everything does matter, but at the same time,
none of it matters.
Yeah. And it's that paradox, goes back to that paradox.
Yeah. So, I mean, it would make sense with all the patterning coming in individually, you know, in this way. So I feel like if you look at the Hindus, you know, and they talk about the Maya and the illusion, you know, of this world, and we're in a play. It's the illusionary play. And these people are coming into our lives to reflect back to us what it is that we're working with on our path, you know, to source. Or like the natives saying, stay close to the fireplace, because that's what's real.
Yeah.
You know, that's what's connecting us all, you know. So I thoroughly enjoy having my mind blown with these things.
I guess the point of me saying that is a reminder that we are much bigger and much more powerful than what we think and what we know to be true. And that we all actually are the same one
Yeah.
source consciousness really are just playing this game of helping each other out. We all created this game to come in, to reflect, to learn, to evolve, and we're co-creating, playing a game with each other. And, you know, it's to be taken serious in the sense of forgetting who we are, to remember who we are, to help expand consciousness, to experience separation so we can come back to love. You know, it's the paradox, it's the contrast. Like, I think if we don't take things too serious and we can keep it light and remember we are all one. I know that that's like hippy dippy term. We're one, but it's actually scientifically proven at this point. When you enter into meditation, you step outside of this avatar. What do we all connect back to? That is who we all are, right? And so I think that is, you should listen to this. It is, and I'll drop the link to this podcast episode. It's incredible. Very empowering, very positive, very beautiful message and reminder. And a reminder that we are God creators, you know?
Yeah, and I'd love to say one more thing about that, because when you were describing it, the first feeling that came up was empowered.
Yeah.
Because if that's really what's going on, there's something so much greater going on, and we have this this deep sense of being able to play the game or sit in the navigational seat, either take it off or learn what we need to learn. And I feel like this with, you know, like ceremonially, and I don't believe everybody should be doing ceremonies or this, that, especially if you have a mental illness and different things, but I have seen people with mental illness come out of it, definitely addicts come out of it. But when you're in that place with the entheogens, it is very powerful. The depth of the force kind of rises up to you and like meets you in that godlike place, which is sure a lot of serotonin, sure connection and community, but it's like that force, you know, maybe someone throws up and then all of a sudden the energy comes through their body and they're like connected again. And within that is this grandiose understanding of the universe. And then on the flip side of that, this very small, like humbling of, you know, almost like the reflection of creation in us, or as in the image of. And maybe I'm a creature and there's a creator, but I'm a droplet of it. And I remember at one point, this was when I was much, much younger and probably on LSD as a teenager, and I was sitting up on a pillbox in Hawaii, and the moon was rising and the sun was setting behind it, and there was a star. And I could all of a sudden see the distance between the planets and the rotation of it all. And like a ton of bricks of, oh my gosh, this is so grandiose and I'm so small. And it's this idea of like when the master starts talking to us within those sacred spaces, it's very quiet. It's very subtle. And that's why it's so important that we are impeccable with our listening skills and paying attention. And in the TB world, they say pay attention, like peyote, pay attention. So it's like this refinement is actually the diamond, you know, openness of the grandioseness of it all. It's incredible.
It's incredible.
Yeah.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
If someone listening is cracked open or in the midst of transformation, what message or teaching would you offer them today?
Congratulations. This is a beautiful place to be in, even though it's very vulnerable and hard. Breaking down, even when people have mental breakdowns, this can actually, when tended to in the right ways, can be really beautiful. Have the courage to examine what brought you to that place. and make sure when people are cracked open like this, are really emotional or having a breakdown or grieving, you know, I always say, well, you can always watch a comedy if you're really in it and need to kind of come out. Eat some greens and some protein. Take a shower. Go out into nature and drink water. You can use your tools. If you have your cedar, you light your candle, your tobacco, whatever it is. But this is it's the beginning, you know, of the path of reuniting, you know, of knowing that we actually do have a desire to return or reunite with it all. So congratulations, and take care of yourself. And because earlier we talked about the protection and the guardians and the mind, you know, make sure you have good people around you, and that maybe if you're spiraling, if the ego's spiraling, it's not necessarily you unless you believe it. If it's spiraling, take that 5-to-1 rule and reach for that higher thought. You know, first the 1 to 5 and then the 5 to 1. And within that higher thought, there will be a medicine there for you, preferably intuitively, but we all need each other for our blind spots. And the homework assignment might be, you know, usually it'll be the opposite of something you've been doing. So then you just say, okay, in this next month, while I'm really like broken down and I'm sick because I haven't moved my body and I'm just have no motivation. Okay, well, in the next 2 weeks, I'm going to call different gyms and studios. I'm not going in 5 times a week. I'm just calling. I'm like curious about it, you know, and setting gentle ways to goals to find your pathway to the path of blossoming flowers and fragrances and beauty and forgiveness and compassion and good people around you. Like everyone has that path, you know, what's going to get you there. Yeah. So that's what I would say.
What lights you up the most right now?
Yeah, music for sure. Yeah, I just love learning with my voice and with instruments, and letting it be a space where, you know, here and there, holding that space for people's big transformations. And also, you know, with the music and like my kids, you know, my son's 23, you know, my daughter's 8, and I'm learning so much that I'm actually just really, it's like lighting me up. The path is much harder, I would say, as a parent, like, or more challenging for a lot of us. Or it's almost like a shortcut if we get it. So yeah, I'm feeling really lit up about how do I create 5 really great experiences with my daughter, and presence and love, and then just keep the processing down on the 1 to 5. You know,
that.
We're not there yet.
Yeah.
But it's been a long journey. We're getting there, and she lights up my world and will be my ride or die. So I'm like, it's worth it. You know, let's do this.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Let's do this.
Absolutely, she's so precious. Lastly, where can people connect with you and work with you?
So mostly I'm word of mouth. I haven't done a lot of advertising. I'm on Instagram. I have a website, which you can post in the notes, you know, Morningstar Acupuncture Journey. Morningstar Acupuncture is the Instagram. And I'm right there with all the naturopaths, kind of near Briar Patch and
In Nevada City, California.
Yes, yeah. I think technically, is it Nevada City or Grass Valley? I'm not sure. Right by Briar Patch.
Oh, it's Grass Valley. You're right. Sorry, it's Grass Valley.
Yeah.
I was thinking of your old place.
Yeah, so there I'm doing a workshop in North San Juan in October for mothers and families on like finance and things. and I do about 3 births a year as a doula.
Oh, that's right.
Yeah,
I forgot that you do that.
I've been doing it for years and years and years. Passion. I was been doing it for free just because I love it as friends or patients. I've just grown to absolutely be massively in love with them and show up as they do. And yeah, but I have to keep it very minimal because it's a big commitment.
Oh, yeah.
And it's such a huge emotional connection. So yeah, that's all there within all of that.
Great. I'll make sure to link all the viewers up with you.
Excellent.
Thank you so much for coming on. Such a pleasure having you. You're so wise and amazing.
Wise ass.
You're such a wise ass.
I do want to say thank you so much. I just so appreciate, and I don't know if I said this before, but I feel like you on your path, and even though you're doing the therapy and getting irritable here and there and stuff, you really are an exemplary person in my world that I've seen that reaches above and beyond.
Thank you.
Like the depth of certain avenues and areas in your life, and then to see you in your relationship now and with your baby and how deep you guys actually go. It's really inspiring.
Thank you, Veronica.
Yeah.
That means so much. I really appreciate you. I really
cool
appreciate
to
you
know
saying
you.
that.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you. Thank you for
welcome.
that reflection.
Oh, love you.
Love you. Okay, thanks guys. Hope you enjoyed it.